Hi, Miss Kim.
Hi, Joel.
Well, thanks for having me come in today, obviously. Appreciate your time as always.
No problem. I'm good. It's good to see you again.
Yeah, well, good. I obviously, we've met in the past. Obviously, I wanted to come in here and I wanted to obviously go over some of the things that have been going on and obviously give you some updates on my thoughts in terms of your program. So I'm just obviously going to get into it here. I put together this presentation so that we can talk about a lot of different things in terms of your past results and your strategy. Obviously, talk a little bit about us, about some of what your market is, and obviously talk about your website, talk about different opportunities you have within SEO and Dex knows within our networks that we partner with, and just how you're showing up in general on the internet, and obviously finishing up with with some print. To me, this is a very important thing. I know, we've talked in the past, but to me, this is really important to get off on the right foot with knowing and understanding that people search differently. I might use Yahoo, you might use the phone book, another person might use Yahoo, Bing, whatever it is. Not that long ago, phone book was the only thing in town, and that was really the only place that people went to look for things. And there's this piece of that pie that's now been broken off, and what we really have is we have the internet that's taken that, and it's Google, Yahoo, Bing, and it's sectioned into so many different places. There's so many different places where people search nowadays. It can be kind of confusing, but really if you have the right strategy, you can really pinpoint things really well. But the biggest thing, and I think what you really need to take from this, is that people do search differently, and I think that's something that we'll see that's evident. Not only do they search differently, but I like to show this just to illustrate kind of the climate nowadays. This is St. Peter's Square in 2005. This is 2013, and this obviously shows you this is the world that we live in. People, they bring their cell phones, their iPads, whatever it is they want, and they search on the go, they search at home, they search all over the place, and this is not a fad that's going to stop. This is where obviously people are at, and this is obviously something that's going to continue into the future, and it's important to really know that, because knowing these things really lays a good foundation for how you're going to capture these people. This is obviously your website, right?
Yeah.
Can you talk to me a little bit about where it came from and maybe what your goal and purpose is with the website?
I just want my customers to be able to see the current furniture we have, because it's always changing and we get a lot of leads from it.
Okay. So you obviously want to make sure that people who know you can reference it, but
Yes.
you also want to attract new people who don't know you who can find it. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's good, because knowing that and understanding what you want with your website is important for me, because obviously the direction you want to go, your website needs to be able to fill in those needs.
Okay.
When I look at your website, I think there's a lot of opportunities within it. It obviously works on some levels in terms of what you just said, but there's a lot of opportunities in terms of not only referencing for the people who know you, but capturing the people who don't know you. And this is something I want to go over. In our internal systems, I can take your website and I can look at a lot of different things that pull up within it, from behind the scenes, the architecture, the metrics in terms of what it is. And, I'm not going to go over all of this because it's a little bit intimidating within that. But what I want to show you is just your website ranking versus some others in terms of the amount of work that's been put into it to make sure Google reflects it the right way. What you can see just in these numbers, if you want to know in more detail, I'll go into it, but the numbers are significantly lower in terms of what you see here compared to some others, and in your score, how it's graded in terms of 1 to 100, and obviously your page rank. There's just good opportunities here, and I think if you want to go and capture an audience that doesn't know who you are yet, there's some good opportunities that we can see here. And this is something that I can pull through where do I rank at in that. It's a great opportunity for you to see different types of keyword combinations and how you're actually pulling up, because if you think you're being found, this is a good way for us to see, are you actually being found. And I did used furniture Arlington Heights. You pull up really well, first page, and that's great. You're located in Arlington Heights, and I would expect that. Used furniture, Mount Prospect, Palatine, you're still there, but then we start going to the surrounding communities of Barrington, Schaumburg, and I know those places are important to you. You start to see that you fall off that first page, and if you're not really on that first page, especially near the top of that first page, your opportunities are going to decrease quite a bit. And when I talk about opportunities, I'm not talking about just the behind the scenes, but just real life. How are people seeing you? And I don't know, does that shock you? Is that really what you thought? I mean, what are your thoughts?
I want to come up on the first page for every community so I can be found.
Okay.
I'm glad I come up in some areas, but it concerns me that I'm not in
Yeah.
others.
Well, it's good. I mean, and that's obviously where I want to know where you're at, because sometimes people don't even realize where they're coming up, and this is a good way for me to obviously show you that. So an opportunity you have with us, obviously, is we utilize numerous different networks, whether it's major search engines or local search directories. We can help tie you into these different places where people are going to find you. So whether it's through your actual website or marketing your website through these places, we're going to make sure that you're found. And this is obviously something we've gone through in the past, and I want to show you in a real live setting. I did a search here for consignment furniture in Arlington Heights. And I just wanted to give you an idea just to make sure, because I know sometimes people get confused of how can I make sure I pull up in the right places. To me, it's important to understand what are the places on the page in the first place when you have a search result. This first section here in the blue, it's the organic section, the free section. This is where Google's going to rank everybody based off of their formula, their algorithm, and they're going to take dozens and dozens of different things that they pull into there. And the two main factors that are in there are you got relevance and trust. Because their overall goal for everything that Google does is they want the consumer to be happy. They want the consumer to get what they want. So if the first most relevant and trustworthy thing in their algorithm, if they determine your website is there, they're going to put you up top and they're going to rank you consecutively from there. All the things that we just talked about with the metrics for your site, the back end, all that information, it's going to play into there. And that's why I showed you that, because it's more complicated, and there's obviously a lot of time and effort that needs to go into there. Ultimately, you need to earn that with Google. The paid section here, it's based off of two other factors. It's basically dollars spent, quality score. And if you can work with both of those, you can do a lot of different things. You can spend an aggressive amount, and you can get a very aggressive return in terms of the number of leads and people that come back to you. If you spend a more modest amount, you'll obviously get a more modest feedback with that. So both of these things are important to know about, because if you want to be found, both these places come into play, and they're really important in terms of how we're going to look at it. So when someone clicks on your listing that we're putting up here in the paid categories here, or if they're on one of their profiles within the network, obviously they're going to come to this landing page. And you've seen this before, we've talked about this. This landing page is going to give a lot of information about who you are and what you do, everything that people want to reference within you. And we can obviously see how you're performing based off of these things. And obviously I want to show you here right now, these are the results that you're getting in terms of your pay-per-click campaign with us, your DexNet campaign. And just again, a reminder real quick, profile views, that's when someone sees your listing and clicks on it. And then when they click on it, they're going to come to this landing page. If they click on your website up here, we're going to track that. If they call the tracking number here that goes directly to your phone, we're going to track that. If they click on the directions over here, we're going to track that. And if they click on your video, all those things are being tracked. And what's important for me to make sure you understand on this is not just obviously the people who pick up the phone and call you, but if they're going to your website, that's not an accident. I mean, they've done that because they're really interested in what you do, and they want to make sure that they can see more about you. They're more a serious buyer. Same way with calls, same thing with directions. They're pushing directions because they're coming in. If you make sure that you add these columns up every time and you look at it per month, you can get a more complete and diverse way of seeing how people interact with you in your store, because just like people search differently, well, people actually are active differently in terms of their buying styles and techniques. So it's good. This is exactly what I would expect in terms of your spend and where you're at. And that's good to know, but it's also good to know for future opportunities. So the YP.com network, this is obviously something that you're in as well, and I want to show you a couple different things here. This is your impressions. And again, impressions, it's when someone does a search and you pull up on that page. Why do I show you impressions? Because I want you to know how many times people are actually searching for what you do. You're in a heading where people search a lot, almost 9,000 per month. 9,000 times per month you're showing up on that page, and that's great. It's great to know, because there's a lot of people doing a lot of activity within your industry. almost 500 times a month someone's actually clicking on your actual listing after they've seen it, which is great. That's what you want. And then more importantly, we can see the things that they do when they're on your profile page, just like before. Clicking on more info about business. Why is that important? That means they're reading it, because if it's only partially shown, that little link and button, if they click it, expands it, that gives them an opportunity to see the full amount. They're not just someone who's bouncing on and off your page. It's great. People going to your website, viewing your photos, finding your location again, phone clicks from mobiles. I mean, those are people who are searching on a mobile phone. They've seen you, clicked on that click to call button, and then they've called you. All of this information, this is in addition to what we just saw from before. Valuable information, things that are really strongly indicating, obviously, what people are doing with you. And obviously, we can see what categories they're finding you from. Numerous different categories. You have about 4 different ones that people find you quite often from. And this is good to know, too. I like to show you this as well, because this gives you an idea of year over year how people are interacting with you. The orangish brown bar is this current this past 12 months, the most recent ones, and the one that's purple is the one before that, the 12 months before that overlap. And you can see it's pretty consistent, and that's, your program is going to be fairly consistent, obviously, with what you do. If you want it to be better and different, obviously it's where we need to look at different things. But it's good to know that things are going in a direction year over year where we would guess. I always bring this up too, and I want to think that this is important to you as well. We can see the reviews. In the past 365 days, you've had 2 reviews. I think obviously, you can probably do better than that, just because I know the amount of traffic that you have, and I know that the people who really enjoy your store and the services that you provide. I think that you could really talk about reviews with your customers. You could just make it known to them that it's something that's valuable to your business. I have no doubt in my mind that you can get people coming in. I noticed on your profile page you have a 5-star review, and that's great, but it's from 2010. So people knew that you were great in 2010, but I don't want to give anybody any doubt that you're still good 4 years later.
That's
so
true.
within this, again, this is something that we can track, and I want to make sure that you know about that. Social media, obviously we can see you're not terribly active with that, and I think that's an opportunity for us to make sure that we can tap into something that is growing. It's something that's ingrained in a part of almost every business nowadays has an opportunity, and especially yours. People can share and talk about the good experiences with you, and that's a great opportunity, something we can talk about. Branding. As far as branding goes, I mean, I know you do some things in some different print mediums. When people are on the internet, they estimate 5% of the time people are actually doing a search and looking at something like that. 95% of the time, they're just on there reading articles, looking at emails, Facebook, things like that. That's obviously opportunity for you to make sure that you can have an impact in their buying habits. If they're already looking for what you're providing, we can make sure that our ads can follow them, so that they can make sure that or that they know that you exist and what you're offering, and it's something where you can make sure that you're giving that message for them, and your brand is what they're knowing. So when they do search later and they see, say, 10, 12 different options, they recognize your name and your listing, and obviously they're more compelled to go with you because they're comfortable with you. We can obviously talk about that, but this is an example that I pulled up for you, that this is like what it would look like. These are the types of ads that you could see, and this is the type of thing that really makes sense to get your name out there.
Okay.
Facebook, obviously, like I said before, you have a listing out there that Facebook can recognize, but obviously you haven't done anything with it. Again, huge opportunity, and something obviously I want to discuss with you in more detail about that. And as far as your print goes, this is the in-column ad that you're running in 3 different books under the consignment service. Again, I think it's good, the different things that you have on there in terms of promoting your website, hours, different things that you offer. I think there's some good opportunities in terms of what your competitors are doing, in terms of in that category, what their size of their ads are and all that. But this is what you're currently running within that. The biggest thing I think I want to leave you with, and make sure that we do so many different things. You've tapped into just kind of a small portion of the portfolio that really we offer. if you look at it, you know, the DexNet, that's that pay-per-click campaign that you're currently running with us. You're doing that. You're doing the DexKnows Internet Directory Network campaign with us, and you're doing the print. These are the three things that you're doing, but really, display brand awareness, search engine optimization, social ease, which is with the Facebook, you know, we talked about reputation management, you know, websites, custom videos, text marketing. All these things are things that we offer and things that we can really bring to your business to make sure that it's as well-rounded as possible with your program. I think there's some great opportunities here. I think I'd really like to discuss some of these things. I have a couple, you know, options I think that you'll look at, and I think you'll see that we can really do a lot to make sure that, you know, your program campaign performs as best as possible, because it's doing well now. We can do a lot going into the future.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Well, thanks for your time. Obviously, we'll get to that then, and we'll go from there.
Okay, thanks, Joel.
Yep.